Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. As you can probably notice, there's a big elephant in the room, and it's partially why I was gone for the last 2 weeks or so, which is new hair. I think I did mention it in my last video anyways, that I kind of had not been on camera because I knew I was going to be changing up my hairstyle, and I kind of just figured I would wait, but now all I want to do is film. So I do feel like it goes hand in hand with this video. Today is actually going to be a wish list video where I'm going to be sharing with you some of the pieces that I am considering adding to my closet, and in the same way that I like to take time with my closet and the pieces that I add into it is actually the same way that I've taken time with my hair, my signature scent. Not to say I don't like trying out lots of different things, but similar to, I mean, you probably can't see right now, but my jewellery, many of you will know that over the years, once I find something that I like, I pretty much stick to it. So I like to make sure that a lot of thought goes behind it because it's going to stay like that for quite some time. I will talk about the hair in a separate video. Maybe I'll vlog or I'll do a little Q&A. Either way, like I mentioned in this video, I'm going to be sharing pieces from across the board. So it's not just going to be luxury, which I feel like oftentimes you end up finding that a lot of these wish list videos, and to be honest, the ones I've done in the past, have been more luxury focused because I think those tend to be the pieces that you want to think a little bit more about. But I don't think I've actually shared sort of like the process by which I go about acquiring pieces into the closet, because as many of you will know, I also collect fashion pieces. It's not just pieces to share in a video, but it's actually pieces to remain in my collection for years to come. So I consider that first before I think about anything else. So typically how I operate is that I will find a piece that could be from COS, that could be from Max Mara, or it could be from wherever really. And how I go about it is I will basically put it onto a hold or a wish list per se. That just means that it gives me a little bit more time to really consider the items that I'm adding into my closet, and irregardless of the volume of my closet, I can still have pieces being curated. So for example, within my collection, I'm still very much aware of every single, or at least most of the pieces that I have in my closet, in my drawers, on the hangers. I'm very well aware of what's there and what's not. If I buy something immediately, it means I know for a fact it's missing in my closet. I've already been thinking about it for quite some time. It's also the same mentality that I like to go about sales. I don't usually go into a sale and just buy something just for the sake of it. Typically it's a piece that I've actually wanted for a really long time. It's been on my wish list. Let's say I'm on the Net-a-Porter site, it's a wish list that I've created on that site, or if it's my Teresa, etc., and then it will ping me that, you know, this item's on sale, or I'll just have a look through my wish list on a random day and see that it's on sale. That's when I buy things straight off the bat without having to think too much about it, because I've already done the thinking. But a lot of the time, in order to make sure that everything is nice and curated and within my style and something I'm actually going to wear, it does spend a little bit of time in this hold wish list. I actually have my notebook here. I've written down a list of things that I wanted to share with you. I also do have a selection of pieces, so I'll probably divide this video. Of course, I have high street and then high end within the fashion space, but then I also have some jewelry pieces and some kind of like homeware-y, lifestyle-y bits kind of. I decided I'm also going to do the video in order sort of pricing. It depends. For example, if I'm at times mentioning a certain piece and then I start mentioning another piece from a higher end brand, then I might as well mention that straight away. But for the most part, I decided to do this video in sort of like an increasing-ish price, but then obviously it'll reset and I'll get onto jewelry and then I'll get onto home stuff. As always, if you want to see when I eventually get some of these pieces, how I style them, I will, as always, leave on the screen now and also in the description box my Instagram and my TikTok. I've also just come back from the south of France, which explains why I was gone a little bit longer on YouTube than I was on those platforms. But now I'm back and I'm excited to catch up with all my video uploads and finally get consistent. Starting off, the first piece is not this one, but it is from this brand. This is the brand Freya NYC, and if you haven't already seen their pieces before, they make, by the way, this is not sponsored, I just want to give an insight into the brands that I'm sharing, in particular because also in this video I'm not just going to share pieces, but I'm also going to start mentioning brands. I sometimes get messages from you saying how I've introduced you to a brand that you weren't aware of, and I love doing that. I love sharing with you guys sort of like the behind the scenes, the brands that people might not be aware of or as aware of just yet. And also I just like to see these brands flourish and grow. But for some of the brands that I'm mentioning, I have already had physical pieces from them before. You might want to have some context behind the brands that I'm sharing, where they're from, etc. Freya Róhe. It's a New York based brand and they actually make vegan leather bags. Now, if you know me, I'm not necessarily particular about the leathers. Typically I am. For example, if it's a jacket, I do prefer for it to be a real leather jacket just because I'm thinking about the longevity of it in my collection. Also depends how it's made. Not all faux leather pieces in a way are made the same, but this one in particular is not the one on the wish list. The one I have on my wish list is called the Jane bag. They've recently launched the Jane collection, which I honestly think is just epic. This bag in particular is called the Mercer bag, and they've had this for a while, but they recently launched the Exotics collection, which basically is the, you know, you have your croc effect, your, I'm not sure what the other effects are. This one I think is the croc effect, and it's the burgundy color. It's got this sort of silver hardware, which if you know me, I'm typically not one for silver hardware. However, on a burgundy bag, I don't think there's any other way of doing it because burgundy as a color is already quite rich in tone, and so when you go gold it just becomes too much. So I think silver just kind of cools it down a little bit. Bag itself, I'm not going to go into too much detail because this is not an unboxing. I just have my dust bag in there because this has been in my closet. But I would say that the Jane bag reminds me a little bit of the Róhe 90s bag, which I was actually going to mention as well because that one is a bag that is on my wish list. So what I'm thinking of doing, I actually already have the Freya Jane bag on its way to me. Some of these pieces I already have on their way to me. I just figured I would share, but that one I decided to opt for the oat color, which is kind of an off-white color. I think that's also going to pair really well with my Gigi Burress millinery hat, which I would have shared in my last haul, which just as an update for that, if you have watched that haul, I mentioned that the hat wouldn't go down my head. Obviously, when I took off my extensions, it fit like a glove. I posted that, I think, on Instagram stories. So when I shared it without extensions, a lot of people started asking me where it was from because I do think it looks more flattering when it fits my head properly. But I do think that the Jane collection works so well with pillbox hats. I think the actual shoot campaign that they did, the models were wearing Almada Label and Róhe, which are brands that I wear. So I just think the synergy was there. I loved the bag. So the oat one is on its way to me. It's just over the £200 price mark. The Róhe 90s bag, I figured since I'll be getting the Freya NYC one in the oat off-white color, I can get, or I'm thinking of getting, the Róhe 90s bag in black. Also, I have my WANDLER mini Penelope bag, which I do very much love in my collection, wear it all the time. If you've ever seen me wearing that bag, it is a shoulder bag. A lot of the time I tuck in the strap to have it a little bit smaller so I can wear it as sort of like a top handle, but it isn't a top handle bag. So I think it's a sign that I do want to have the Róhe 90s, which is kind of what I'm creating the WANDLER mini Penelope to be, because I do want to wear the WANDLER mini Penelope in the way that it's supposed to be worn, which is a shoulder bag. Obviously I can still do that even if I'm messing around with the strap, but it kind of feels like I'm yearning for, not yearning, it's not that deep. It does feel like I am really wanting a bag like the 90s. I'll see, I'll get the Freya NYC one first. I'll see how I feel about the size, what fits, and if it's a good option, then I feel like I'll be ready to get the Róhe 90s bag. From COS, the first thing I have here is a piece that is on my wish list, but I don't think I'm going to get it, and I'll talk to you about why. Though I still thought it would be great to share in case some of you are looking for something like it in your collection, but I already have something too similar, so I don't think it's worth it for me. This is the Croc Effect leather belt in brown with the gold hardware. It goes for about £65. I'm not going to mention the price point of every single thing because I haven't written the price point for every single thing, but it'll probably be on the screen as I'm talking about it alongside the pictures because obviously I don't have the items with me here. This belt, if you've watched one of my recent hauls, I picked up the Anderson's leather belt with the croc detailing from the Net-a-Porter site. I decided to go for it in black and also this sort of like lightish brown chocolatey colour. So you would have already seen that I have that, so I really don't need this belt. I, however, still have a weakness for things like brown croc. For example, something else I have on my wish list, which I will share closer to the end of the video, is actually from Filofax. It's sort of like a planner organizer and it's in a dark chocolate brown croc. There's also one from Aspinall of London that they make one, and I have those all over my wish list. Now I'll leave everything linked down below as usual in case you're considering any of these pieces yourself. Now the next piece is something that I actually do want, and it isn't something I have anything similar to in my collection. It's called the Suede Collar Field Jacket. It's mostly cotton. I've written down this as a note. It's about 98% cotton, 2% elastane. As the name suggests, the collar is 100% suede. It's in a chocolate brown, so obviously I'm gonna love it, but I just think I'm not usually one for something like this. I just think it's such an interesting piece, and it's a jacket that just adds a little bit of something, and I just figured it would be actually quite an interesting one, styled with white jeans, maybe some loafers, a brown bag, something like that. I really love, and I wrote here that it's just below the £200 price mark, which I didn't think was too bad for a jacket. The next thing that I actually have here is a pair of oval sunglasses in a brown tortoiseshell. When I saw these, I immediately thought, actually House of Dogma used to have a really similar pair, if they don't still have it, but they kind of are known as sort of like the Carolyn Bessette Kennedy sunglasses. It's those typical oval tortoiseshell. I feel like before I didn't even consider them. Now that I've changed my hairstyle, I do feel like it's allowing me to experiment. The sunglasses that I was wearing before still work perfectly fine, but it's always a great opportunity to try out a different shape, a different tone, and see how it fits me now. Then here, another piece that I have, which I actually got to see in person when it first launched, and then since I've seen it on a few people's videos, and now I'm convinced to go back and get it. Now this bag actually does come in both a dark chocolate brown and then sort of like an undyed beige version. I think I probably would go for the undyed beige version, just because I finally have, I think, reached the point where I'm like, you know what, I have my brown bags covered, and at the moment I just want to diversify it a little bit more. Plus I just feel like the beige gives off a little bit more summery vibe, whereas the dark chocolate brown is something that I have in the form of other bags. For example, a bag that I've been wearing a lot, even recently I went to the south of France last weekend and I wore this Bali Deco daily all the time, so I don't feel like I actually need a specific dark brown bag for summer, because that's where I actually bring out my leather versions, for example this, or the Dragon Diffusion dark chocolate brown, and a few other brown options. I just feel like I actually tend to wear these in the summer, whereas I don't really have any raffia undyed bags, which I feel like would be perfect for beach days. I personally have the one that is the smaller version on my wish list, because I got to see them both in store. The big one is just a little bit too large for me, whereas the small one is the perfect size. It's not too small, it doesn't feel like a formal handbag. Next up, a brand that I have on here is a brand that I had already, I don't really like to use the word introduced to you, because a lot of you will already know these brands. First time introducing the brand to my channel. This is Henne, which is an Australian brand. There's a few that I love. For example, P.JOHNSON FEMME, Camilla and Mark. Henne is definitely up there with some of them. And you would have actually seen in the Germany vlog that when I was staying at the hotel there, we went for dinner and I wore the Henne skirt with black Enzo Costa top and my clutch bag. And that skirt I will also leave link down below, because I know I got some questions on it, but I had it in a size, well I still have it in a size 6 and I absolutely love it. And so based off of that first initial purchase that I made from the brand, it's one of those things that's like, okay, now this is my entryway into the brand and I want to try a few of their other things that they have. The first one is not necessarily summer, but it's definitely just a piece that I want as a whole. However, I'm not sure and I'm still thinking about it, because there's other alternatives that are real leather, and I obviously just mentioned my point with my coats and jackets. These are pieces that they rub when you wear it, so you want them to be a little bit more long wearing. This one is a faux leather and it's called the Nova jacket in chocolate. It's very gorgeous. However, I have already spotted something similar from, I know Victoria Beckham launched one a couple of months ago, and then Nor More have one, and I already have a leather trench coat from Nor More. They really do specialize in leather jackets, shirting, things like that. So in terms of that side of things, I think maybe I'll go for a Nor More jacket. However, this is one that I spotted and I figured, you know what, despite the fact it is faux leather, for a jacket, I would say it takes it into consideration, the fact that it's faux leather. It's not like a faux leather jacket that's priced at a leather jacket price point, which you can sometimes see in the fashion world and sometimes get a bit crazy on that side of things. But this was priced, I would say, similar to maybe a few others, but I do think there's a way around it and I'm gonna have a look. But when I looked at the new arrivals, it was there and I thought, wow, this looks really nice. And having a piece from Henné, I know that they're made well, so it would just depend. I would have to have a think about it and see if I want to go for it. And then the other top that I saw, not necessarily for me, but I wanted to bring it up because I have a top very similar to it, which is my Massimo Dutti Studio Collection full linen sort of like halter neck top. And when I shared that, it had already sort of sold out and I still get questions about it. They don't make it anymore. So I found the Breyer top, which is from Henne. The only downside to this top is that unfortunately the composition is mostly, if not all, synthetics. And I just feel like it didn't have to be like that, because it could have just been a linen top like the one from Massimo Dutti. However, if you are in the market for something like that, because they are perfect for the spring-summer month, there is actually another one which is a linen version. It's called the Lauren top from Alex Riviera's studio. Many of you will know Alex Riviera for her impeccable style. She also has her own brand, so I was having a look on the site because I always love discovering new brands all the time, and it's 100% linen. And then actually from Henne, I did have another sort of like a blazer dress. It's actually called the Pia dress or Pia blazer, and I loved it. However, I already have something else on my wish list that I really just want at this point because I have something very similar. I have a blazer from Massimo Dutti and it's 3-4 years old. It's double breasted, they don't make it anymore. I love it so much. It's got an hourglass structure. I still get questions about that, and it's one of those special pieces that I love in my collection. But a brand that makes something similar and longer, so a dress, is Wardrobe NYC. So many of you will already have seen this. It's from the Rosie Huntington Whiteley collection, I believe, and it is the blazer dress. It's got no collar. I have seen it a few times, and the first few times I was like, no. However, I do think it's had a price increase because I was having a look and I was like, I think they increased the price because it's sold out a few times and then it's come back. And I do want to get my hands on it because actually the way that I've been styling in the past my Massimo Dutti blazer with an hourglass dress from Odd Muse underneath and then my Magda Butrym heels, and I love it so much, so I feel like it's almost a confirmation that I would love this Wardrobe NYC version but as a dress. I want to think about how often I want to wear it. In a way, how versatile it is. I would love for it to be the kind of thing that I can wear with my Theory Demetria pants underneath, because I can actually do that with my Massimo Dutti blazer. So back in January when I was in Paris, I took a mirror selfie and I was wearing that Massimo Dutti blazer, my Theory Demetria trousers, and then my jacket. So I think I'm gonna love it. So it's almost like a confirmed thing that I like it. It's just that I have to make sure that I really time these things well, because otherwise I'll end up getting a bunch of things all at the same time and then it's a little bit overwhelming. I like to slowly integrate them into my closet. Actually, funny enough, speaking of Massimo Dutti, I recently went into the store. A lot of their stores were being renovated. This one in particular is so lovely. I actually do want to go back in there and maybe do a little come shopping with me, though I have to say I don't want all my videos to be so shopping focused because it's not actually all that often that I'm always adding things in. It's just that that tends to be when I end up filming a video, which makes it kind of seem like I'm always consuming things and always adding things into the closet, which to some extent is sort of true because obviously I am within the fashion industry, but at the same time it's in a much more curated way. So I am thinking of different videos to incorporate into my channel to show you also a little bit more about me, because I don't want this to be a channel where you're watching someone talking about fashion only and knowing nothing about the person you're watching. So I definitely want to integrate more parts of that. But no, I actually spotted this fine wool blazer and I liked it a lot. If I'm not wrong, on that day I was wearing my Almada label cream trousers that I've shown before, the ones that are sort of like the elasticated waistband, and it was just so, in my eyes, Late Como. If I'm not wrong, I might have been wearing my Bally Deco Daily, though I'm actually not sure. No, I actually think I was wearing my Manu Atelier Le Cambon 35 in the linen suede colour. And it was just so chic and so spring in Late Como, though we're not in spring anymore. We're kind of at the height of summer. I think it will be perfect for like autumn in Late Como. This one in the cutaway clip that you'll see, I am trying on a size 8. I actually quite like these. There's a few of these on my wish list actually. For example, I'll show you afterwards as well, but P.JOHNSON FEMME makes some incredible sort of like fitted blazers. Same thing as Luca de San Guisto in, well, the store that I visited before is in Switzerland. They have incredible sort of like fitted blazer cardigans. I just have a thing for them. I'll maybe put up a picture of the ones that I'm talking about on the screen. Next up, Róhe. Róhe recently launched some incredible pieces. I have some pieces also on the way, so as soon as I get those, I will share them. Now you can call it Róhe. I think some call it Róhe as well. I don't particularly mind. It comes down to the same thing as Net-a-Porter, Net-a-Porter. I think as long as you are getting the pieces that you love on these sites, not too fussed about it. Róhe is definitely one of my favorite brands. I've shared it so many times on my channel, and every single time I've shared it, a lot of you have fallen in love with the pieces as much as I have. Notably, some of my favorite pieces have been the cream blazer lace top, which actually, if you've been following me on Instagram and TikTok, obviously recently I went to the south of France and I wore that with my Almada label incredible. I think actually I had shared it on YouTube before, it just didn't get around to sharing it on the other platforms. Just so nice. So many different ways to bring back these pieces to life every single season. The dress, the gown dress that I love from them. The jacket, it's the mandarin jacket that I love. It's actually one of their pieces. They have now the mandarin in the wool, the mandarin in maybe a silk. They have it in different fabrics now, so it is a actual signature piece of theirs. Some black trousers from Róhe. There's a variety of pieces in my collection from them that I've been able to acquire over time. Also the wool dress, the backless one of the first pieces that I got from the brand. Still pieces that every time I wear them I'm just reminded of how good the brand actually is. They recently launched some epic pieces. One of them is actually called the Silk Combined Poplin Shirt. I'm having to read it off here because there's quite a few names in this video. Going back again, it kind of reminds me of that Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. If you've ever been wanting to find a shirt which fits you, it's a tailored shirt. It fits you perfectly, but it's not, you don't have to go so many sizes down that now it's too short on the sleeves. This one has sort of like a tie detail. For the most part, my favorite thing about this is that you can tie it at the back and it just cinches you in. I just think that Theory Demetrio pants, or even the way it's styled on the website, which is with white trousers styled with a clutch bag, I'm thinking like a Metier Ease 20, something like that. Just so sophisticated, simple, but so good because of the way that it fits you. I think that's the easiest way to play around with basic pieces, is to make sure that the fit is impeccable. And I have found recently, especially with the bags that I've been mentioning, you know, the Freya Jane, the Metier Ease 20, it's just that I think that in the summer I'm more partial to a smaller bag. However, that's not to say I don't wear my big bags. For example, my Bally Deco Daily, Dragon Diffusion, actually another one. It's a new in. It is a new in, but it's like a new in that has arrived months ago. I just never got the chance to show you. This is a bag which is a black suede, almost like that shopping bag. This is actually a magnetic closure, and you need to be careful with this because the amount of times I've caught my finger on this is not even funny. I'm trying to do it in a way that I'm not going to hurt myself. It's a very strong magnet, so for sure your things are not going to be flying out or anything. But when you open it, I still have stuffing because this is actually how I keep it inside my closet, believe it or not. I don't like my bags to get ruined. And then here you can just see the CM Camilla & Mark logo, both here and here, which is such attention to detail. But no, something like this, of this size, I really like, and it's just so casual and perfect, almost like a beach bag vibe, but then it's black suede. And then also from Róhe, another piece that I've spotted is the sculptural sleeveless top. It comes in sort of like a beigey taupe natural color, and then it also comes in black. I've gone ahead and selected the black because I just think it would look so good with wide leg trousers, Demetrio pants, anything really. I think that sort of like hourglass on a poplin shirt is just so lovely. Next up, we have another brand, which is P. Johnson, specifically P. Johnson, but the FEMME range, because P. Johnson is actually a tailoring company based in Australia. Absolutely incredible pieces, but they definitely have specialized in the past in menswear, and now they have, I don't know how new it is that they have their FEMME range, but they have it. I actually think it's quite a good thing. It kind of reminds me of Bally. Bally has been known for shoemaking, and they now have bags ready to wear, small leather goods, but their bags are incredible because they specialize in leathers. Same thing with P. Johnson. Despite the fact that for the longest time they've been focusing on menswear tailoring, I actually wouldn't say that I'm turned off by menswear tailoring. A lot of the time I do like a more masculine fit on my blazers. I mean, a lot of the pieces I love, I'll share them. So first of all, we have the double-breasted raglan overcoat. Also, the composition of their pieces just tend to be so good. For example, this one is 100% cashmere. Technically it's 100% cashmere on the outside, and then if I wrote it down, it's the Cupro viscose lining, but the pieces are all very luxurious. I'm still yet to try, and once I get my first piece from the brand, or a couple first pieces from the brand, I will sort of like come back to you guys with sort of like a definitive review of the brand. On the next page, I have the Elsa jacket in oat. I think maybe I've also just fallen for the way that they've styled it on the website, that oat and dark chocolate brown, stunning. And again, it comes back to that fitted blazer cardigan that I really am into. It's that very laid back, chill, but super chic and elegant. And then there's a couple of other pieces. I definitely will leave everything linked so that you guys can have a look yourselves, but they have, for example, like a padded shoulder cover that goes over your gown. They have the Pamela pant, which was really nice, reminded me of the Rogala pants. Mara halter neck top, which is like this textured, basically the equivalent of the Massimo Dutti linen version that I was just talking about, the Alex Riviera studio I was talking about, and it's textured. So if you're wanting to bring in a little bit of texture into quite a simple outfit, perfect way to do it. Moving on, this is actually the last fashion brand that I have here, which is Attersee. It's a brand I've loved for a while. My passion towards the brand keeps on growing. New York based, chic, elegant, just incredible. The first thing they have actually is not that badly priced, I want to say, because I want to say the prices of Attersee are quite similar to the prices of the Róhe. The first thing I spotted is the tassel belt. I think it is the perfect sort of like chic alternative to wearing hardware. I love a bit of hardware. I love my gold hardware, things like that. But sometimes you just want, I don't know how else to explain it other than just a minimal outfit, which doesn't have too much going on, but just so curated. I want to say the price point of it is about the £200 price point. So unique. And I love finding brands like this that are not just regurgitating what every single other brand is doing. Finding unique pieces. Nothing wrong with regurgitating necessarily, because sometimes you find epic pieces at different price points, but it is nice to be able to find something where you finally feel like you're going to be able to express your style in a different way than someone else. Not necessarily because you have to be different, it's just nice sometimes to have something different. I love that belt, definitely considering. They have it in black, they have it in navy blue. I think the color is steel. It's kind of like a silver color, but like a blue toned silver. I was scrolling through the website and I spotted that one of the models was wearing this tassel belt in a gorgeous ivory color. They don't have it right now there, so I will have to check. It's probably sold out and they're going to bring it back soon. I'm maybe going to contact them at some point and ask them about that color, because I think it would be so nice. I think wearing an all black outfit and then a ivory tassel, so nice. And then they also have the Nigel jacket, which I think is probably up there at the top of my wish list. Been for a while. It's 71% virgin wool, 29% silk. I haven't written the composition of every single piece. It's just the ones that for me were like, that's meaningful there, especially the things that I really know that I'm close to getting. I think the Nigel jacket is just, if you think New York elegance, that's what you'll get. It's open, you can actually close it up if you want, but you basically unhook it, but the tailoring of it means that it's not these like buttons staring at you. I'm pretty sure it's these like clasps underneath the fabric, and then you undo it, and then it's kind of like, I can wear it with my Demetria pants, I can wear it with like a vintage Bottega Veneta clutch, or maybe a Metier Ease 20, or you can wear it with like a Kelly pochette, a Kelly cut. You can wear it with anything really, but I personally would go for a clutch. Then the proportion just is so nice. And they also have the mini skirt, which technically speaking I should not be looking at because I already have something very similar. I have a cashmere, I want to say it's cashmere and not a cashmere wool blend. It's from Theory. I have had it for years now. It's navy blue, but these ones are really nice. And if I'm not wrong, it comes in navy blue and black. This is where you can see the excitement. This is actually what's happening when I'm behind the laptop screen ordering stuff. It's just like being able to try new brands for me is genuinely one of the most exciting parts of what I get to do. And then they also have, I've seen this one actually on a TikTok before, and I was like, I recognized it straight away, because you just, when you recognize Attersee, you recognize Attersee. But it's the Duchess satin evening shirt, and it's basically impeccable. Probably if I were to get that, I would have to get the matching trousers, but it's kind of like open on the sides, and just, again, the only way I can describe it is kind of like that Upper East Side New York elegance. That is the best way for me to describe this brand. That's actually everything fashion related. On the next page it continues on, it's a small section of jewelry, because I really wanted to mention some jewelry pieces that I have on my wish list. There is way more on my wish list. There is, you know, watches and things like that, but I didn't want to go into that. I just wanted to share more so like the everyday, despite the fact of watch is an everyday piece. I didn't want to share that. I kind of wanted to share the smaller bits, because if I start talking about all the jewelry pieces that I want, I could be here for hours. One of the brands, I actually have a couple of pieces from the brand, but this was just down here because I was actually thinking, should I wear this ring today or should I not? Then I just put it down there. This is the brand Dorsey. I think I've shared some of their pieces before. None of this video is sponsored, however it will feature brands that I've maybe worked with in the past before. I usually wear this a lot. It's just that sometimes I don't want to wear it, especially if I know I'm going to be playing with my hair a lot. This is the Tate ring, which I wanted for such a long time, and it falls under the category of their sort of like bespoke jewelry. It's made to order. They are lab grown diamonds, and actually a lot of the pieces that I will kind of share in this category just happen to be lab grown. I do think that a lot more lab grown diamond brands have just been way more willing to experiment with things, and if you know me, you know that my style of jewelry definitely falls within that high jewelry thing. I love high jewelry. I don't always want to spend that, so the fact that there are brands, you know, lab grown jewelry brands coming out with these really incredible pieces with all these details, I'm up for it. So this is the Tate ring. Maybe I'll show you a little close up if you can see. It's that emerald green. Let's not mind the nails, but this is how it looks, and I absolutely love it so much. I'm actually gonna do it on this hand because the other nails, but this is how it looks, and I actually wear it often if you watch the Germany vlog, but today I decided not to. But Dorsey is a brand that I really like. I have a couple of other pieces from them, some of which that match this ring. There's also another ring which is actually the, I want to say it's called the Houghton ring, the Houghton or Houghton ring. Anyways, it's a pinky ring. I think it's a great alternative for a traditional signet ring, which I think sometimes you might want to match your rings more with the outfit that you're wearing. The design of it is really nice. Again, it's going to be a major order, so I actually need to get that order to fit my pinky. And then they also have the Hastings ring, which is a very bold, again, and with all of these you can get, they'll have sapphire blue and emerald, you know, they have lots of different options. And each ring, the thing I like about Dorsey, again, not sponsored, just something that interests me a lot, is that, for example, this ring, I have it and it's a silver. Actually, this is a sterling silver. The sterling silver, for example, for this ring, I can't completely remember now, but probably will be around the £500 price mark. Whereas if I were to get the, I can't remember now, I have to put it on the screen, I think it's the 14 karat white gold. So if you choose, for example, even though sterling silver is still incredible, if you want to invest in something that you really think maybe it's going to hold its value a little bit more, then you can go ahead and get that option, but you can still get the same ring in a sterling silver. The Hastings ring, it's kind of that Cinderella ring. And then as I was looking at that ring, I thought Cinderella ring brought me to another brand, Annabella Chan, which is actually another lab-grown diamond brand. Again, for those of you who are like me, really enjoy your sort of like high jewelry vibe, but obviously the pricing of high jewelry can get very up there, and so Annabella Chan would be a great option. They also have their haute couture collection, so I think if you're looking for something that really is high jewelry look to it, but for the lab-grown diamond pricing, it would be a good brand to check out. If you are looking for something that's not entirely, it's still bold, and especially in the summer when an outfit can be quite simple and minimal, there's another brand that I spotted, which is a brand based in Barcelona. It's called Paola Siginolfi, and they make, like, they have some rings that are like really oversized, or like the pieces will have a lot of texture, just really nice pieces. I'll put pictures up of my favorite pieces on the screen. It's just one of those brands that I discovered a little while ago that I was like, how is this not everywhere? It is kind of everywhere, but I guess it's everywhere except, like, it's when I discover it and I feel like, oh my goodness, I bet no one knew about this, and it's just me who didn't know about it. So maybe a lot of you will actually already know a lot of these brands that I'm mentioning. What I like about Paola Siginolfi as a brand, the founder likes to merge in a lot of her Colombian heritage into the brand. So again, I really appreciate trying out lots of different things from all over. For example, sometimes I'll find a brand and it's a Swiss brand, and then other times it'll be an Italian brand or Colombian heritage. I just like trying out a lot of different things, and really as much as possible without doing it in a disrespectful way. I think it comes down to also the fact that I also travel. So when I'm traveling, I get so much inspiration from everywhere around me. And then that's for jewelry. I also decided to include some things very quickly which are home related. I actually had mentioned to you in the Germany vlog that I was placing a Christoffel order for the Aria flatware, which I did, and I'll put up a picture actually because it's so gorgeous. It's even better in person, and it pairs so well with the bone china set that I already currently have. And then I also currently have something on my wish list. Another thing I have from Christoffel on my wish list is a teapot. It's from the Albi collection, which I do have a few other things from the Albi collection. I'm just me and my silverware and my tea collecting and my letter writing, which I'm actually really getting into. I'm taking it so seriously. I was actually going to mention it next anyways, but those are the pieces from Christoffel. I have spotted the teapot pre-loved. I need to double check its authenticity, but if it's authentic, pretty good. Lastly is something that is on my wish list, but I also have a couple of pieces as like examples. It is home/lifestyle. It's something that I've really been getting into, which is handwritten letters. To be honest, it's always been something that I've loved. I have an entire stash of handwritten letters that people have written to me over the years that I have collected. So it's just like, I really do appreciate handwritten letters. Even when I go ahead and stay in hotels, notably when I stay in hotels in Paris, they tend to really also just the calligraphy and the everything and the cursive writing. So I'm really getting into it and learning how to do a better job at it. I will get to the actual wish list item in a second, but when I was in Switzerland not too long ago, in Lugano on Via Nassa, they have a shop called Vega or Wega. It's spelled W-E-G-A. The owner of the store was absolutely incredible, and I picked up a few pieces. I've already actually used it for the first time, and I realized that I need to get better at my wax sealing skills. So I picked up, for example, these. You might not be interested in this, which is why I put it at the end, but it is something that I love. And I figured, you know what, I sometimes get comments of people saying, I know nothing about you, and I'm like, this is me basically in a nutshell. But these are papers that have like fraying on the edge, and then the envelope that it comes with, not very interesting because it's plain. But these are things that I also have on my wish list. Not so much letters, though I have found, and I've known that it's there for a while, if you've ever been to Green Park in London, just next to Bacchanalia. They have, is it called the Mount Street printing shop? Something like that. And they have incredible like envelopes and papers and stationery and everything you could need. And then they also had Bortoletti, which if I'm not wrong makes some really good pens as well. And I bought, you can see I've already used it and I've removed it and didn't put it back. I was using my wax sealant. It looks so much better when it's fully put together. Also, apologies for my nails if you can see it when I go close up, but this is the wax sealant with the F, and it usually has the tassel hanging off, but I was recommended when I'm using it to take it off, otherwise you could get the wax and this stuck together. And then I have currently 3 different waxes, one of which has already been used. Golden colour, shimmer, the red, and then the other one has already been used. I personally like these ones because they are natural wax, so when I was burning this, it actually smelled quite good, whereas if you get the ones that are not natural, they will smell really bad. The thing that's actually on my wish list, and I also brought down this, which is actually, it was a gift to me. It's from Pasquale Bruni, which is a jewellery brand, and they have, I'm not sure if this is actually something they sell, but it was given to me, and this is sort of like, they're all different papers. You know, I'm like, yeah, onto something when that is what I love. Not to bore you guys, Splendor gel, and it's 100 grams per meter squared, and it's basically, it's all different papers. You're not really going to see the difference, but they're all different papers, and this is just the theme of the book. But the brand is actually called Fabiana. It's an Italian brand, so I'm guessing they actually are the ones who make, like, for example, this one is gorgeous. This is Tintoretto Gesso, 95 grams per meter squared. But yes, the thing that I actually have on my wish list for handwritten letters, I found it on Etsy because I realized when I was doing the wax sealant, I'm not necessarily the best just yet at it. So they do actually have wax sealant stickers, which I didn't know was a thing. And they have some really nice ones with like feathers hanging off of it. And I just think for a very special invitation, stop. So if you're not into this, you can definitely skip to the end of the video now, because this is the last item I'm talking about. But a candelabra in silver is something that I've been thinking about for so long now. I'm just trying to think, should I do a candelabra with 3 stalks, or should I do the candelabra that has quite a few, and then should I do one at the very center of the table that's quite tall, or 2 at each side of the, well, sorry, 1 at each side of the table? That's what I'm thinking. And just like that, we've come to the very end of this week's video. Slightly different with a few other things that I'm really into. I just figured, again, I love fashion, and obviously this is what I share on my channel, but I also want to share bits and pieces that I really like within my personal life, so that you can also get to know a little bit more about me and the things that I'm into, and not just the items that I'm wearing. Definitely let me know if you enjoyed this video and if there's any other specific videos that you want to see from me. But with that being said, I do hope you enjoyed this week's video, and I hope to see you very, very soon in my next one.